Thank you, Jeany, for joining me to have a little chat about your upcoming class with Wordcrafters, and so we can get to know you a little bit. Everybody, this is Jeany Van Meltebeke Snider, who's going to be teaching a playwriting class for our youth write clubs at Wordcrafters in Eugene. So thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So I just have a few questions about you, about the class that we could chat about, any or all of them, none of them if you don't want. Or if there are any you don't, if you're like you can just pass on any question, that's totally fine. So I haven't met you before. I've met a lot of our instructors just from living in Eugene and being a writer and taking classes and just kind of being around, but haven't yet met you. So it's a pleasure to meet you for the first time. And so I'd love to get to know you just a little bit more. You said that you recently moved here to Eugene after being away for a little bit of time. So
Yeah.
where did you move from and why did you move back and all of that?
Yeah.
Whatever you want to share.
Yeah. So I actually was born and raised in Eugene and went to Sheldon High School. And I'll date myself. I graduated in 1987. And so I didn't stay too many years after that before I went away to school and then came back, met my husband, and went away to grad school. And then we've been in Canada for the last 25 years doing theater in both British Columbia and Alberta. So, where I most recently came from for the last 17 years, I was in a tiny hamlet. It's not big enough to be called a town. So, there were 93 people in the middle of what they call the coulees, the prairies of Alberta, central Alberta, southern Alberta. But in this little town called, believe it or not, Rosebud, there is a professional actor training program and a professional theater. And so my husband and I were both there as instructors at Rosebud School of the Arts, actors with Rosebud Theater, and we raised our two boys there. And then our boys left home, and both of them ended up at Gutenberg College, which is on 19th and University right here in Eugene. And we were like, okay, why are we still in Canada? It's time to move back. My parents are still here in their 80s in the same neighborhood that I grew up in, right by Otson Stadium. So we moved back just this summer.
What's it like to be back home, like in the place that you grew up but have spent like your whole adult life away from?
It's a little trippy. There are so many things that are familiar because the place you grow up, you breathe better. You're used to or I think so. Maybe that's an assumption, but like this climate, this altitude, the moisture in the air, things are just really evoking a lot of memories. Like especially right now, I want to like put on my new school shoes and sharpen my pencils and go like all my memories of going to Monroe Middle School and Sheldon. But there are some things that are quite significant. That re-entering into the theater scene here, my husband and I were quite well known and chummy with many people who many have left. And most of the theater people now in Eugene are new. And so I'm not known. And that's been a little bit humbling and just fine. It can be kind of mysterious that way. But we were a big part of the Eugene Festival of Musical Theater that Ed Ragazzino was heading, and his widow, Roxy, is a dear friend of ours. And he was instrumental in getting the Holt Center established. So I was around in those days. So there's some interesting things that are the same and some sobering things that are different that I need to get familiar with.
Yeah, I asked just personal curiosity. I'm a very curious person. Um, because yeah, like I went back to England, like I lived where I lived until I was 10, like several years ago. And it was so interesting to see the house that I'd lived in, and my dad's house, my mum's house, and the sweet shop is no longer, a sweet shop and newspaper seller. It's like a dog groomer or something. And I was like,
Mm.
oh, just even those tiny little things, that I remember from growing up, and how places have grown and changed and become different. And Oh, just over those decades. Yeah, I was just curious what that would be like, not having not having had that experience at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is different. I mean, one thing that's great is I get to walk with my mom, and for 25 years I haven't been able to be a friend to her the way I wish. So there are some positives too.
Yeah. Well, that's lovely. So can you tell us a bit about the class that you're going to be teaching coming up this year, later this year?
Yes. I will be encouraging all of us in the room to use our imagination and start writing a play, a scene, or describing a scene. Um, it could even be a screenplay if that's a helpful way in, since movies are so well known. But I love theater. Theater is full of actions and problems. And so we'll have a few different prompts that will help us with timing or parameters or suggestions, and maybe take some from the group. And we'll just be around each other while we write. There'll be a little bit of time for sharing and inspiring one another with what we have come up with. We might, for example, if there's a window in the room, look out the window and just for 30 seconds, even, and suddenly see what comes up in your imagination. I am a little caterpillar on that tree. What would they say? What would they do? And it can be childlike, or it can be, um, you know, rooted in reality too. I find that if we follow our delight or a burning question, then we have enough fuel to finish a project because we're curious, as you have offered for yourself, Joe. That curiosity can really lead to some great art making, and the courage to ask questions and the fuel to finish.
I like that fuel to finish. I need some of that. I'm good at starting projects.
Yeah. Well, and even starting can be hard. That's why we'll do some prompts. But I find that if you follow your delight or a burning question, then you have enough fuel to finish.
I like that. So I was a drama nerd in high school, and that's originally what I went to college for my first year at Florida State University.
Oh,
And so I've read a lot of plays, I've been in plays, I've read scenes, acted out scenes, and everything. But I don't think I've ever actually tried to write one or write any plays because it is a different thing than like it is its own genre as opposed to poetry is or it's its own form, right? Poetry has its form, and personal essays have a form, fiction, short fiction, long fiction, and so plays and screenplays have their own form and format and structure and everything. Will you be getting like into any of that, or give people, I guess, at least enough of like whatever they need just to get started and get on with it?
that's a great question. I will have a plan, but I will probably tune to the room as I begin to get to know the participants to see if it's the right plan. Because too much structure can feel like you have to do it right, and technique, particularly. Well, I'll just take a little tangent to kind of give an overview of why I say that is a lot of great theater and great screenplays have been written, and they do follow a format of the eight plot points. And I can describe some of that, or I could take one of them, like a reversal, or um, an exciting incident or something that we could borrow from. But I think that I'm one who doesn't always follow a recipe. I make soup out of what's in my cupboard and in my fridge, and I'll glance at a recipe for reference. But because the joy of creation is a lot of what motivates me in the arts, and particularly in writing, that I think that I will just encourage the participants to really, again, follow their delight or a burning question. And for those who feel a little too out in space and free form, then I can give them more structure and more parameters. But if you look at women's theater in general, so total general statement, or you look at indigenous theater, you look at some of the other theaters who weren't always just ethno-European linear plot structure stories. There's theater itself. Yes, it has these tendencies. Storytelling has tendencies, but there's also other ways to go about it. And I think at this place, if we're beginning playwriting, we just want to get stuff down on the page and then look at it later and analyze. I would be much more right brain starting out, letting the creative side, the gracious side of you be in the driver's seat. Tell the analytical, wonderful left side of your brain to just sit in the back seat for a bit, and it can marvel later at what I did intuitively before I even understood what I was doing or had words for it. And I just went. It's also a similar practice to when I'm coaching students in acting, that if they're in their head trying to do it right, trying to resemble someone else rather than connecting to their own core values and what's motivating them, they're always falling short. They're always watching. So it can slow us down. But I'll like I said, maybe the ruling principle will be to get to know each student as quickly as I can so that I can find the key to inspire them.
I love that. I love all of that. I am also not very much of a recipe follower. It's guidelines. It's just guidelines. You can add stuff or not, or you got to use what you've got, right? You got to use what's in the cupboards in the fridge.
So I think the class is really about beginning, because even though beginning might be hard for you and finishing is hard, or beginning is easy for you and hard finishing is hard. For some of us, even just beginning is hard. And I think I'm I'm hoping to be a catalyst to provide a safe space for them to begin, and we'll share a bit and encourage one another as much as they're willing to share. And then they can go away and continue to develop and see where their characters take them or where their world of the play takes them. I'm there to get them started.
That sounds great. So, how did you become a teacher? How did you start teaching?
When I went away to grad school to get my master's in acting, we did graduate teaching fellowships as a way to pay for our schooling. So then I was in a practice of trying to look at the students in my class and see what they needed and try and devise on the spot with them. So that was an acting class and theater performance. My primary love is just being in the center of theater as an actor, and then loving storytelling and the collaborative art of theater so much that really ready to do several different of the art languages just to help things happen, and giving myself permission to write. I was a student first and a participant, and then I guess when you've been in the field long enough, they look to you as an expert when really you just have audacity and experience. But I did facilitate a playwriting workshop even during COVID where we could share things online and had live reading, because I really believe in it. Theater, whether you're acting or at any part of the whole project, it fosters so much empathy as you step into someone else's shoes, or even as an audience member, witnessing a story at the same time with others that causes you to go, oh, I have a little more grace and understanding now for why that character did that.
So, outside of acting and plays and playwriting, what are some of the things that you're interested in and passionate about?
Mm. I love to bake, and you talked about chocolate, and I do have some of that here, but I also have, this is in case I get a snack attack. This is a little piece of, oh, I can't see. This is a chia seed walnut candy ginger bit of shortbread I was playing with. And that is something that's fun. I like to explore with baking. I like to swim. We just moved into this place here in Eugene that has a little pool. I can't tell you how happy I am, because in Alberta, that was really rare. It feels like winter happens from November through March there. So um, I'm used to not being able to even walk outside because there's a lot of ice and snow. I mean, I walk, but I wear my boots and my cleats and I bundle and I bundle. So I like to, I get walloped by nature. I see beauty and I'm fascinated by color. I'm one of those Instagram moms that will be taking pictures of colored leaves and flowers and squirrels and things, whatever crosses my path. Still really delightful to me. Those things thrill me. And my mom is a lover of ice cream. So this summer, I made a point of having two different kinds of ice cream every day just to make sure I was indulging and enjoying that. I also love to draw. There was a time when I was in counseling and I didn't have words for what was coming up for me that had been suppressed for my childhood. But I had a pack of crayons, like 64 of them, and I would just color, color, color. Later, I would go back and outline the different colors in a black marker, and then I could start to put words. That color represents this feeling, or this whole page has a name. It's a memory of this. But it was really great to have permission at first to just color. So sometimes when I need some grounding, I'll get out the markers or the crayons and just take time. It can be abstract, but somehow still going back and outlining the shapes centers me.
It's very cool. I like that. Well, I have one last question for you. And I joke that it's the most important question that we have at
Right.
Wordcrafters. It's not, but we do like to have a bit of fun, which is what is your favorite kind of chocolate?
Okay. A lot of my favorite chocolate I can't afford very often, like maybe a Lind ball that you put the Switzerland ball of chocolate in your mouth and then it kind of like explodes like lava. But what I do have here today, which are on sale right now, are little Halloween pumpkins because these are better than your regular Reese's cup. They're like very meaty. So the peanut butter filling, I've loved them ever since I was a kid. I'm one who, I was told as you get older, you like more and more foreign films and chocolate that is bittersweet. I still like milk chocolate. I still grew up with Hershey's chocolate, and I'm like, there's a lot of great chocolate in Canada too, like an Aero bar that's got all these air bubbles and mint, but a Jersey milk or a Cadbury. But then when I come here, I love a Hershey's chocolate. So I'm not too far outside the box there, but
There's no
almost
wrong
any
answer to that
chocolate.
question, honestly. Well, Jeany, thank you so much for taking some time to talk with me about what you teach, why you teach, how you teach it, what people can expect, who you are as a person. You're a lovely human. I look forward to getting to know you more and for you to be teaching classes with Wordcrafters. I appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I enjoyed connecting with you and getting to share about myself. It's actually quite affirming to remember those things that about me and to even have another human go, that's like me is great. I would just say that even if some students aren't able to take the class, keep writing and find a way to share it. Share what you have to say.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.